Tricia, for your words on our journey to restoring term limits in the state of Arkansas. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. This next speaker believes, like we all do, in ethics in government. Matter of fact, this speaker was a spearhead of wanting to put ethics in issue 3. Unfortunately, it was taken over hostage-wise by our legislators, and they used it as a Trojan horse to self-serve themselves. What a shame, when ethics could have been something that we have in government. But instead, our legislators decided to lengthen their term limits, and they decided to take away the ability and accountability of their pay raises from the citizens to their friends on a committee. And this person, Paul Spencer, I'd like to introduce so he can speak a little bit about our path of restoring term limits in Arkansas. Paul Spencer, please.
As Bob said, my name is Paul Spencer. I am the chairman of Regnant Populace, that is a ballot question committee that sought to get reforms on the ballot in 2012, and we worked in 2013 with the General Assembly to try to get some meaningful ethical laws on the books to govern how our legislators behave themselves. Now, you know, there were lots of components to what we were trying to accomplish. Mainly it was to take corporate money out of elections, to make the politicians not be beholden to lobbyists. And those were the things that we were the most adamant about. It turns out, in hindsight, that those provisions, particularly with the lobbyist gifts, have been abused on a daily basis. Every time the General Assembly met, they feasted. It put me in mind of the Old Testament story of Belshazzar and his profane feast, where we gave these legislators the ability, we allowed them a little latitude, but they abused that, and they profaned what the will of the people was. But in the same instances with Belshazzar, the handwriting's on the wall. And they are going to have to be held accountable, and they will be held accountable through the efforts of the term limits folks here, Bob and everybody else. And I think that that's what needs to happen. As far as the ethics and the reining in the meals and the free food and gifts that ended up being taken advantage of so admirably on their part, and so skillfully, that's being addressed through another ballot measure. So between the term limit revocation and taking some of this lobbyist influence back out, which we intended initially to be the cornerstone of what we wanted to do with issue 3, hopefully it'll restore some sanity back in that. As far as supporting this effort, I encourage all my friends, people who I've worked with, people that I have a lot of respect for, to consider looking at this piece of proposed legislation and acting in the affirmative on that. So I'm very proud to be here speaking with this group of fine people. I wish I could have done more prior to this, but now it's time to make amends, it's time to do the right thing, and I wholeheartedly support this proposed constitutional amendment. Thank you very much.